All right, we should be live. To quote Stick Seconds Hammer, who I listen to every morning. All right, let's get this thing started. Technical, 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 technical. Oh, I want to smoothen that up. There we go. My other monitor's way down there. I've got a stand-up desk, so I am a good 6 feet away from my other monitor. That is okay. All right. I have one of the most disgusting things that you're going to see in a long time, and you probably already just caught a glimpse of it just now, but turns out that fake meat, the Beyond Meat, the Impossible Meat, or whatever else this stuff is called, is not as clean, lab-grown, and great as you might have thought it was, right? So the absolute state of it, we're going to start on this because it's going to motivate you to store your own food, grow your own food, process your own food. Here we are. All right, just getting a look at it. All right, these are the photos and internal documents from Beyond Meat plant in Pennsylvania. So this is serious stuff. So Listeria is a child killer. Illnesses are what's going to kill you on your homestead. Whether the illnesses are from drinking water, eating meat, coming into contact with other people, or just the natural, animal reservoir illnesses that you'll get. And maybe you were out on a really cold day and your immune system is now compromised a little bit that day, or maybe you're feeling a little off, didn't quite get the protein you should have, and now all of a sudden you've come down with an illness. Now, if you're on a homestead and you're being self-sufficient, or if maybe the stores are empty again like they were in 2020 and 2021, you might be out of luck. Staying healthy is vital to your, surviving, right? Unless your family is willing to lose you for a week, 2 or 3 or 4 or forever, you can't just roll over and die. Someone's got to take care of you. It's going to turn into a cascading problem. Like most problems, they breed more problems. This here is a big problem. All right. These are the moldy containers. Oh, just like a cardboard box absolutely soaked with mold. This takes a long time as well. You need this cardboard box has to be actively wet. So this environment is most likely quite damp. They do not have their humidity control going. You can actually see that there are pits and breaks in the structure of the building as well. That creates more surface area for mold growths, insects, which will then die. If insects take residence in a little hole here, they're going to die too, right? And insects' bodies are filled with protein, they're filled with pathogens, they're filled with moisture, and they will continue making the place more unsanitary, right? You'll basically have a mold hole. No one wants a mold hole. This goes for your homestead as well. If you have lots of little nooks and crannies for bugs and other things to go die in, mice, even an entire cat. I once was digging through a drywall in my old house when I was a landlord, and I think I found a cat skull. I wasn't sure what skull it was. It was a little one. It looked carnivorous. It was some sort of skull. Not something that you want, and it will definitely leave a smell. Back in the medieval times, the reason why those plague doctors had that big nose on with the incense in it is because back then they thought that it was the bad smells that would cause you to get sick. So they put a lot of time and attention into smelling good, having things smell good. Now, despite what you might have heard about medieval hygiene, they thought that smells were the pathogen. They were the vector for you to get sick, right? So that's why if you ever see in historical documents why people thought would pay a ton for like incense or perfumes. Ambergris was a component in perfume that was from whale. I think it was like a whale vomit. It's like a whale discharge. And whalers would go out and get this stuff, and it was worth a ton of money because it was used in perfumes. Go figure, right? You know better, right? You have germ theory. Germ theory is one of the greatest gifts to homesteaders ever. It allows you to understand how you're going to get sick. And one of the ways that you're going to get sick is through moist areas with something for the bacteria to live on, which, by the way, is often carried in the moisture itself. You just need the moisture. Unless it is distilled water that is floating around your air, which it most certainly is not. Unless it's distilled water, which is coming out of whatever leak you have, which is most certainly is not. There is going to be something for something to live on. And if something can live on that water, then something is going to start living off the thing that's living in the water. You have red algae. Red algae means you're going to get some sort of maggots. Maggots will then allow the eating, them to be eaten by some other thing until eventually you have this whole ecosystem like you see here. Like, good Lord, if this, I mean, all these molds here will give off spores. It is the spores that will infect you. It's the spores that are bad. Like, look, someone just upended this cart of stuff into this grinder, into this industrial grinder. It's going to go through, chop it up, move it through this pipe off into wherever else. There, it looks like there's some sort of cooking apparatus on here as well, or either that or some pressure pressure measurement. But whatever this machine is, VGM001, tempted to look up what that is. Like these mold spores are going to travel everywhere. Everywhere there's moisture, everywhere there's something for the bacteria, mold, viruses to live off of. That's what you're going to get. So yeah, this is a Beyond Meat plant so this is not even meat, by the way. So meat packing plants, because of Upton Sinclair, meat packing plants have to get inspected pretty often. Like, people are very sensitive about infected meat. There's actually another article which is kind of messed up. Something like this. It's also in Pennsylvania. What's going on with you, Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania, sausage, death. I don't know. Let's just see if I find it. But the old, there's a sausage. Yeah, here it is. Third thing on here, right? Pennsylvania sausage death gets you. This Pennsylvania woman fell into a meat grinder at work. This place is closed forever. Like, you're going to, economylocker.com. That's awesome. If there's a way to mute this tab, I will. Let me mute it. I don't even want it to start. You won't hear it. I'll hear it. It'll annoy me. Right? This sort of thing is unheard of, but apparently you can grind in a whole bunch of mold and disgusting stuff into your Beyond Meat because it's not actually meat. People are not that sensitive. Meat doesn't have like the political machine against it. Vegetable Beyond Meat does not have the political machine against it. Its meat itself is seen as this dirty, horrible, dead carcass, corpse, rotting thing. But nobody, when people see plant-based patties, they feel like it's going to be cleaner, and it's not. It's how you handle it. And by the way, these pictures here, every processing step of your food, imagine it's going through a facility like this. This is just the one you see. If you've ever had a cockroach infestation, you know that there is going to be about 20 times the number of cockroaches that you actually see. If you see one cockroach, there's probably 20, probably 200. There's a whole nest. It's a big mess. This is the one cockroach that you see. All right, let's get to the article, get some a little bit of context here. This is a leak, by the way, like a leaked document. So one of Beyond Meat's key factories was reportedly riddled with mold, bacteria, and other health-related concerns, according to leaked evidence provided by a former employee. So a person quit or got fired or laid off or whatever, and they decided, I'm just going to go ahead and show the whole world what this is. So you weren't even supposed to see this. This is not the result of an inspection. This is not the system working properly. Like, disgruntled ex-employees is not how, there's one disgruntled fake meat packer between you and eating this garbage. That's what happened. So this system is not protecting you. Don't even. Okay. The document was reportedly provided by a former employee who was worried about conditions, which was located within an hour in Philadelphia. 2 other ex-employees confirmed the bacteria was found at the facility. So we got some corroboration. Bloomberg published it, right? Like, we don't know for sure. I don't know if we have a Beyond Meat representative pushed back on Bloomberg's report, knowing the inspections conducted in March and September and found no instances. Oh, yeah. All right. That's pretty weak. Okay. If you are saying there's no, I'm going to zoom in for you guys. If you're saying that there is no instance of this happening, why would you not just let a news crew come in and look at it now? Why this other, like, oh, well, we passed earlier. It's like telling your probation officer, like, listen, I know I look high. I know I look really, really high, but I passed my sobriety test 3 weeks ago, bro. Get off my butt. That's not how it works. Yes. Highest possible rating in each of the last 3 years. Nobody cares about your ratings, dude. We care about the pictures of moldy, nasty stuff. Just say this is false. Just say it's false, right? That's all you got to do. But they're not doing it. what exactly do they say here? They say, found no instances. Yeah. They pushed back, which means they didn't say yes, right? Pushing back just means they didn't say yes. Noting that inspections conducted in March and September in the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture found no one's. I'm looking at the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. It's scants. Yeah, this is like they're not. I gotta find out which states have like the worst record. But the thing is, this isn't on record. Like garbage in, garbage out. You can't do data analytics if there's no data, right? You can't do data analytics if there is no data. And this is not a thing that had any data behind it. This was one disgruntled employee and 2 others corroborated. I'm surprised the employees didn't have to sign an NDA, but I mean, you can't really do that for every hourly worker, but the employee might have just said, F it. I'm just gonna whistleblow. Yeah. Shares have declined by nearly 80%. Well, it's going to decline a lot more now. I would also probably be allegedly bribing health inspectors or showing them a different part of the facility. I don't know. I would like to hear the health inspector's side of the story because their ass is in the fire too. All right. If you're the health inspector for this, I'm going to talk. I'm not even going to put this Beyond Meat packages on. I'm putting the moldy stuff on. All right. This is the real stuff. This is what I want everyone to see. I'm going to talk over this. If you were supposed to be inspecting this facility and you gave it passing flying colors of the last 3 years, you are about to get fired unless you can show, like, you better have records of photos, records of the whole room. Like, look, there's a camera up here. There's a camera right there. Like, subpoena the footage. People have been eating this. This could destroy the company. I'm not even joking. Like, your stock went down 80%, and now you've got this happening. I have actually never seen this kind of thing before. I hope it keeps happening, man, because people are getting laid off left and right from these companies. And screw it. You know, on your way out, take a fire to it. Yeah, this is the sausage lady. She fell into a sausage machine. This looks like a mom and pop slaughterhouse. You're not supposed to operate one of those machines. Yeah, I'm just jumping over to this old story from like 2019. It's just crazy to me that someone fell into the meat grinder. That's horrible. Oh. But you're supposed to have something called light curtains when you're in a factory. So here it is, light curtains. And by the way, if you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. I am a new live streamer. This is the second session, so it's gonna be a hot mess, I'm sure. But we're learning. We're all gonna learn together. You can't hear the music, but it's kind of groovy. I don't know who does all the. I don't know what the on ramp is in the music industry. Like, do you start at like doing illicit videos and then you make the music for corporate training and then you work your way up to like until you're Jesper Kid doing video game soundtracks and then finally until you're doing other music? I feel like as a career, that's what you have to do, because the other one is like, can I get a break? All right, so here's how it works. You got a photoelectric sensor on one side. You got an infrared light beams coming out of the other. They might also be, they might also, you know, intersperse the transmitter and the beam. The transmitter and the receiver. Doesn't matter. Idea is that if you break this beam, it's like some Mission Impossible thing, right? If you break this laser grid, the machine stops. So if she were to fall into it, or even get her hand in there, because the beams might only be like a centimeter apart or half of that, 5 millimeters apart. You can't even get a finger past that, especially if you have little workers like in Mexico and Thailand and Taiwan or wherever else, right? So usually these machines are built for smaller people. I don't know if it's a coincidence that it tends to be smaller people who are doing a lot of our manufacturing. Yeah, anyways, something to think about. But anyways, it has affected everything, and being around these machines is extremely dangerous. They are super fast. Whenever you see them working, like this machine right here, you see how fast it's going? It's times 10 during operation. Like these things get scary fast. These things get scary fast. Like how fast is manufacturing arm? Like how fast can it go, right? Let's see if we got something in here. This is on the fly. I'm just looking stuff up live. Yeah, so these things weigh tons. They have a tremendous amount of torque because they use electric motors. Torque means that from a stop, they can just crush you. Right? They don't need to like build up momentum like an automobile does. They are heavy power right off the line. So here you have this. If you're in the way of this thing, it'll just knock you out of the way. Like you'll just be destroyed. It'll bust your skull. I think a bunch of people died at the Tesla plant because of the mechanical arms that are used. And people who are in charge of safety, a lot of them sometimes are new. They don't have a ton of industry experience, or they don't have the budget they want, or whatever reason there is. Like you have these machines they'll absolutely kill you. Like they'll move 1 ton of meat down an assembly line. They'll like lift $100 packages of meat like it's nothing at breakneck speeds. They will literally break your neck if they touch you. All right. So that's the lesson. Every place that you have your food processed in, imagine it looks like this, and that's where it's happening. Try to make stuff at home if you can. I can do cooking streams in the future if you like. All right, let's go through the market right now. So market's effed, right? So here's we all know that inflation's bad, but I don't know if you knew that it was like year over year. This year it's up 4.7% according to this graph, and it has been positive for a pretty long time, right? Ignore this red. This red just means that inflation is not accelerating as fast, right? It's like you're still going forward, like you're still going towards inflation, but you're kind of tapping the brakes. But here's the gas, right? So cumulatively, it's about 7.7% integrated, right? So what this means for you, we can go over here to the Consumer Price Index, and we can take a look at the breakdown here. This is bls.gov/CPI, Consumer Price Index. We can actually see which things in the CPI are driving things. So obviously we got food, and inside of food you had food at home and food away from home. Strangely enough, food at home has been getting more expensive, or has been getting expensive at a faster rate than food away from home, believe it or not. Like food away from home is still more expensive in total, but the rate has been higher for food at home. You got your top ones as cereals and, I don't even know what that is. Cereals and bakery products. There we go. Their graph was not sized properly. Let's zoom. There we go. You got your meats and poultries are actually not that bad. Meats, poultry, fish, and eggs. Eggs is actually one of the top inflating items. It's probably gotten plus 88%. So this is not an even graph, right? This is not, and we're going to look at these in a breakdown. Food at home, dairy and chicken related, up 15%. We're up double digits on 4 out of the 6 categories, right? So 66% of these things are double digits, with fruits and vegetables approaching double digits. Meat and poultry is not. I think that's being dragged down by the price of beef, because beef has not been raising in price that much this last year. It has actually been pretty stagnant, plus 0.2% for ground beef. Yeah, has not been changing very much. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Ground beef is changing quite a bit. It's the cut steaks are staying stagnant, so that's probably keeping this down. But chicken's also not much more. Eggs are a lot. Eggs are probably what's dragging a lot of this up. So anyways, let's get to it. So in total, here we go. We got lumber. We're going to take it back about 1 year. See if it actually works. Here's the 5-year. Around June 2020 is when everything hit the fan. Here's June 2020 right here. Let me zoom in a bunch. Oh, wow, that screwed up the... oh, there we go. Mouse cursor's back. Okay. All right, so here's June 2020 at about 382. And you notice that it's kind of just been going up and down. It's probably been going up just as much as down prior to that. But then you got this massive spike. This first spike here was probably initial supply chain issues. This one here was people moving out around May of the following year, so May of 2021. This is when you started getting the summer of love effect, and that started drying out around toward the end of the year. But then once New Year's hit, once New Year's was creeping up, it went right back up again as people are starting to price in homes, finding real estate, people moving out of old real estate. It's not just about who wants to move out of the city, it's about who is ready to sell in the country as well. And we know that the migration is mostly city to everywhere else. And now we finally actually leveled out. We've just about leveled out to 430.6, and we started this we started this madness cycle around about the same, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, right? 430.6, and then it started going nuts. Okay, so lumber is actually getting back to where it's supposed to be. Now it could shoot up again. You don't know. Here's steel. Steel in your 3-year projections. Steel also around June. Well, actually, it looks like so it was creeping up before the pandemic hit, and then as it hit, it accelerated, and now it's buoying. Its price is going up and down. That's probably due to different market fluctuations globally as well. Like people are not building as much, people are not, or other markets elsewhere are trying to get rid of excess inventory of steel. I'm not sure. Copper is actually starting to return to its norm. Here's, I'm telling you, if you draw a line in the sand around June of 2021, or sorry, June of 2020, you could just see the S hit the fan in the commodities markets. So here's June of 2020. Boom, up here, stayed up here, and now it's finally down. Now, I know this is like, what is it? It's probably $3.61. Was that per ounce, probably? I'm not sure what the unit is on this. Let's see if I can find the word unit. There's only the second one of these, so I'm still coming in fresh. But let's move over to ready-mix concrete. Ready-mix concrete has been going up slow and steady. It's took a dovetail upwards around, you guessed it, about June, July, and then about 3 or 4 months later, I'll actually just zoom in onto what I want to see. Here we go. It's nice to see the historical because then you can see what the rise, the rate of rise was before. But as you see, around June of 2020, it takes about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and then it just starts accelerating until you get this this part right here, right there. So that's concrete. So if you're building structures, prices are going up. They are not showing a sign of slowing down. They are cresting a little bit, but that could just be a fluctuation. All right, for all you guys who are into crypto, into money storage, here is gold, right? Now, if you went with gold, it would be up 20% over the last 3 years. What's funny is if you go to the max, let's see if this thing actually works. It's being dumb. There we go. There we go. It's starting to get there. See if it catches up. Anyways, yeah, if you're on this time scale here, and I can adjust it, you can see that around if you invested like 20 years ago, you'd be doing great. Oh, bugger. I'm just going to refresh this page. I've been fiddling with that graph a little bit. I must have screwed it up pretty bad. There we go. Wait for it to load. Gold is seen as a store of value. It's not supposed to go up or down that much, but for the last since 1999, according to this graph here, it's went up in value by five times. So, by 500%. So I guess that's 6 times. If you have in the last 5 years, though, it's a pretty stagnant, which is what you want. You don't want it to change that much. You want to just sort of ideally keep up with inflation, and that's about it. So if you bought it 3 years ago, you'd be at 20%. Let's go ahead and adjust this graph here because I can do that. And let's put it at, you guessed it, right at the beginning of the pandemic. All right, so just like everything else, the prices of gold went way up. It shot up a bunch. And now it's settling back down again. I mean, it could end up going even lower. You don't know. It depends on how things go. People are losing confidence. A lot of the larger stocks, especially like Meta and the Silicon Valley stocks. Silicon Valley is not looking good. That is a store of value for a lot of people, or at least it was. It's not looking like it anymore. Maybe they'll put more into gold. Who knows? I don't have any money in gold yet. I'm putting all my money into cattle and meat, and I'll explain why later. Believe it or not, I actually have data on hay. So this is the Prepper report. So I'm going to talk about farm stuff. And the price of hay has actually been falling. Well, actually, wait a second. This graph is not. Oh, okay. Dadgummit. They stopped keeping data after 2015. All right. I'm going to have to readjust this. There we go. Farm products, grains. I got to make sure these graphs are current. I apologize. Closest thing I could see here is grains. Almonds. Monthly seasonal adjusted. Yeah, there's grains. I have grains on another one here. But yeah, let's go with grains. People tend to feed it with grains. Corn is definitely a feed as well. Yeah, there's a trough here. Oh, here we go. We're going to zoom in on 2020. So there we go. That's the real story. So here's June of 2020, and then it starts to accelerate upwards. Now, I don't know what this trend is going to look like. The last time it was this expensive was, 2012, 2011. Here's the financial crisis. It's almost like they highlighted the financial crisis for us. It actually dropped. So that's a good reason to start, buying cattle, buying livestock, because the grain prices are going to go down. Here we go. Here's processed foods and feeds. This is for chicken and turkey feeds, supplements, concentrates, and premixes, whatever that means. And you can see the prices going up. So certain things are going down, other things are going up. Now, this is the processing, right? So we saw that grains were simultaneously going down as the processed feed is going up. Well, this processed feed is a mix of a millet, see if I remember this one, grain and corn, right? Millet, grain, and corn. Those components have actually not been skyrocketing in value a whole lot. However, the processed stuff is. Now, why do you think that is? Well, we've had a lot of food processing places shut down, have layoffs, have accidents, have burn downs, they're just burning right down. So processing costs, I think, are what's driving the chicken feed prices going up. Now, the way you can deal with that is you can give them unprocessed feed, or you can find some way to do the minimum processing you need. That might be an interesting concept, because if you can just give your chickens cracked corn, grains, and millet, and just give them that. If you want to make it a layer pellet, you can add oyster shells or some calcium source. If you want to add proteins, you can add rye grains, because rye grains have really good proteins. You can also you actually refeed them some egg as you get it, as you have excess, because usually you will have excesses of eggs. You can feed that back in, because chickens will take the grains, turn them into proteins, put that protein in the egg, and then put the egg out, and you can just refeed them the egg, by scrambling it. They like it scrambled. They like it fried. They're not too picky. They're chickens. They'll literally eat each other, or their own eggs. Yeah. So since the pandemic, the new rules, June 2020, then shoop, right up. So you've got an increase of 188 in June 2020, and now it's about 50% over that. So up 50% in the last 2 years. Speaking of going up 50% in the last 2 years, actually it's not. Maybe it's that bad. DAP fertilizer. This is oh my gosh, cannot remember what that means. Let me pop in here. That is, I just wrote DAP. I think it's diammonium phosphate. It's NH. I don't want to tell sales out of school. I don't remember what the chemical formula for that is, but it is as the name implies, phosphate. It's for providing phosphorus nutrients to the soil. It's a soil amendment, also known as a fertilizer, and it's called a chemical fertilizer because it's got a few chemicals in it. the ammonium and the phosphate, right? The NH3 plus whatever the phosphate bond is. Never mind the fact that everything is made of chemicals, including water. H2O is a chemical, or dihydrogen monoxide. Anyways, right here, June of 2020, price of this fertilizer, this crucial fertilizer, which is needed especially for fruit growth, $273. It hit a high of $954. Good Lord. So it went up like a good 3 times, and now it's kind of settled to just being, whatever 752 divided by 273 is. I guess we'll never know that answer. Just kidding. What was that? 754? Close enough. I might have said the wrong numbers, but it'll be in the same ballpark. 754 divided by, I don't know. It still shows me. Nice. 273. Darn near 3 times. It's indistinguishable. So that fertilizer is 3 times as expensive. I could not find information on the other 3 fertilizers. These are not normally something that commodity prices track. So I'm going to try and see if I can find it now, but that's probably going to be fruitless. Anhydrous. I don't even know. Ammonium nitrate. How about that? Ammonium nitrate is a popular. Oh, wow, wow, Indonesia. You're paying through the teeth, Indonesia. What do you need all that fertilizer for? Price quotations. I'll have to check it out later. But I don't expect those other fertilizers to be that much less. So since the pandemic, fertilizer prices have been going up 3 times. Fertilizer is a insignificant component of your food costs, the price to market for farmers. So that's what's driving a lot of food prices to go up. Not everyone's affected equally. But as you can see, here's corn. Corn is also shooting up around the beginning of the pandemic. As I said before, around June 2020, about 188 with a minimum of 185 and a peak of about 300. So it's the same. Like you could take this graph of, I'm sorry, this is the chicken feed. Why did I think that was the corn? My apologies. It's actually kind of funny. The chicken feed sort of goes up around the similar way as the DAP, the diammonium phosphate. But anyways, corn has actually been rather stagnant, all things considered. Right? So here's, let me take a guess. Oh, no, that's actually much closer. Yeah, so here we go. That's 2021. Here's June of 2020. All right, so here's June of 2020 when everything started to go nuts. About 2 months later, corn started shooting up significantly. It's now almost twice as expensive as it was pre-pandemic. However, during this pandemic, it's been relatively flat. I mean, it goes up, it goes down. Corn is depending on the type of corn you get. If you're getting feed corn, it's not terribly perishable. So you can buy during the dip if you think there's going to be a dip and then use what you have. But I mean, it's still gone up by double digits. It's still gone up by like 20%. Only until you get to about February of this year does it kind of level out. So I take that back. It's corn prices are going up, which is going to dovetail nicely into our next section once I get through this. Rice, similarly, also up. Big ups, big ups, big ups. Let's take us back to June. There's June. For some reason, rice got really expensive. Huh, how about that? Why would rice, put your thinking caps on, guys. Why would rice go up way high before the United States, and notice my inflection, gets hit with the pandemic? It's probably because China was buying a ton of rice to get ready for the massive shutdown they're going to have. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I would have to look at it. Will, it's a good point. See, the thing is, all of these different prices on here, let me see if I can pop open it's probably easier that I go ahead and use here. These are all my links to all the different commodity prices that I track, by the way. Oh, here it is, wheat. We're coming up on wheat. So, Will, if you really want to know if something correlates or not, if you're just looking at the data, you kind of have to see if the rise plus lag, and then there's a rise in the affected item, right? So you have the effector has an effect happen to it, and then you see if there's a correlation after a lag period. Now, the lag period is indeterminate, right? If people before pandemic would buy fertilizer as needed monthly, then the lag is going to be monthly. It's going to take a month for a price to affect, price and rise in fertilizer to affect the grains. Now, the thing is, people are now hoarding fertilizer. So the price rise might take like a year. You don't know. Like all the farmers are sitting there waiting to buy the dip, right? So this is a very funny, by the way, data paints a funny story. If you like a good story from data, well, there you go. So here's around the US hitting the fan is about here. That's usually when things start for the United States to have prices go crazy. But prices went crazy just prior to that. I'd have to assume that the Chinese, Thai, Japanese, all of the Asians who are in the know, South Korea, all of them stockpiled prior because then the price just collapsed. It collapsed back down to levels that were a little higher, but not that much higher than years prior. All right, this thing is starting to scroll on me. No, just refresh. There we go. Just refresh. And I'm going to take it to 3 years and 3 years. Here we go. So we've had a 45% increase since then. Here, let's just take it over to this dip here. This is when the United States rice market started to go high from our effects. All right, so over 2 years, we've had a 56% increase. Now, all of these increases are double digits, so don't get me wrong. Nothing is really stable. When I say stable or said stable before, I meant from like week to week or month to month. But these are not hyper stable. These are not very great. Like some of these, you'll look at this percentage mark and be like, oh, it's down almost 1%. That's because of just today, right? This green number right here, that's the one you want to pay attention to. I'm going to resize this for emphasis, the emphasis. Make sure my emphasis is good. All right, let's take it to the pandemic starting around June. See if there's anything interesting prior to that. Nope, there isn't. All right, just still figuring out this graph stuff here. This software's new. Oh, here we go. I was wondering where the translation control was. I was like, what the heck? Because I can change the scale here, but I can't. Like I can shrink the scale, but eventually it'll start scrolling on me. Okay. Close enough. Around, I guess June of 2020. There we go. It's around, I'm being a little bit anally retentive. Don't mind me. And that brings us today. Okay. So here's June, the start of it. The real worst of it, it kind of, and this is wheat. So this is the grain you were asking about, Will. This is the wheat prices. They kind of started creeping up, but around the end of 2021, we started seeing the knock-on effects of decisions made in 2020 and 2021. So in 2022, after harvests had been made, after exports had been made, after the 6 to 8 weeks on the water that external exports take, I think that farmers might have just ran through their storage of fertilizers, and costs of other things started going up as well, right? So these are the knock-on effects. I hope that we don't start seeing this stair-stepping pattern up as as we distance ourselves from the pandemic, but this could happen, right? We got a system that is kind of sick and kind of having issues. So we're up 80%, 83% in the last 3 years. Over here, live cattle. Let's take a look. Let's just use a 3-year scale, keep things simple. But it's funny because we end up having a bit of a dip over here, and then we accelerate upwards. In this dip, this is just prior to the pandemic really hitting. So there's a price drive increase, probably from foreign nations, people stocking up on food. And then in the United States, it just started going up and up from there. If I go ahead and grab at that tiny dip here, we'll see from around the pandemic starting in June, beef prices, this is live cattle prices. So $1 per pound for live cattle. So if I have a, 2,000 pound cattle, that's going to give about a $3,000 cow, given the live cattle prices. These are not futures. This is current trading. Up 80%. So you're seeing a pattern. It's 50%, 80%, 80%, 50%. That's how much stuff is going up. What concerns me is it's not going up as much as the 200% that fertilizer has. The knock-on effects might not have been felt yet, but they might be later. However, the fertilizer just might make up a small cost of the actual animal, actual grain, actual food. So we'll see. Eggs are one of the largest inflating items there are since the pandemic started. They've probably gone up about 88%. So that's a little too close. Oh, let's pull it back to, that's about right actually. A little bit more. There we go. That's close enough to get a trend and also understand. So here is June of 2020, $1.54 for a dozen large eggs. And now they're up to $3.49. So $3.49 divided by, what was that? $1 something? $1.40? I'm just going to put $1.40. Yeah, that's nearly 3 times as much. So you start to see what the fertilizer really affects and what the other things affect, right? Sugar is a weird one. It doesn't really, it goes up, but it's up by, well, there's that 50% that you normally see. But if I grab the dip right around June, I'm telling you, set your watch to June of 2020. That's when all this madness started, according to the financials, right? Yeah, up 100%. So sugar's double. Sugar is used a lot in sweet feeds. It is a sweetener. It is, used for culinary reasons. It's used for a myriad of reasons, and it's a component in everything. So here's milk. This is a cost per 100 pounds of milk. Don't ask me why. They measure it in 100 pounds, and that's how they sell it. You ask the dairy farmer about that. Milk has been rather stagnant, actually. Here's June of 2020-ish. And I say stagnant as in it hasn't like, well, I guess it's not. Now it's 60%. That's a 60% increase. That's still in the neighborhood of everything else. It's just that it's been having these massive crags. Like it's gone up to $24. It's gone up to $25. It's now settling around $21. It had a low of about $11. So yeah, it's nearly doubled in price. Yeah, these graphs sometimes can be a little bit misleading. You got to do the math in your head a little bit. Gasoline prices. Yep. Yeah. Starting to tell the same story over and over again. This is obviously not the gasoline that you necessarily get at the pump, because this says about $2.50 right now. Some people are paying like $3.20. There's probably some processing, transportation, other add-ons, labor for the gas station that increases that price and starts adding things onto it. But good Lord, it was around $4.19 in May of this year. So just 5 months ago. These also might not necessarily be hitting you all at once, right? Like gasoline companies will probably stockpile during a certain months, and then they'll release it to the gas stations as they go. I don't know. I'm not sure what the your ability to store an item, its perishability or lack thereof, is what allows you to survive these massive rubber banding of prices. Like I don't really care if the price of corn is going up plus or minus 100% throughout the year if I have a year's worth of corn. So that is what homesteading is all about. It's about making yourself rugged against these market changes so that you can survive in case something like this happens. Here's diesel fuel. Yep. Set your watch to it. I'm telling you. This is about as long as it. So around June of 2020. Okay. There's an election around this time, and then Biden hit the office. I don't remember when he first took his day in. I think it was January or something. I forget, but people were hedging their bets, and then, yep, plus 80%. Like you start to see the same numbers come up. Like if every cost component you have of your food is plus 80%, then your price of your food is going to go up plus 80%. It doesn't matter if the diesel makes up only 1% or 50% of the cost of food delivered to you at your table, or sorry, from the grocery store to your table. If they're all 80%, if they're all around 50%, it's going to go up by that much. All right. I really like this one. This is weekly heating oil and propane prices. So if I pop in here and take a look at, view history, you can actually go in and pop in and just take a look at your own state too. So if I take a look at Tennessee, I actually bothered to keep data on that. I can just look at Tennessee's propane prices, or is this, propane residential prices. So I can look at my previous season. So this is a good website. You just have to Google it. I don't know. It's the EIA.gov and then DNAV/pet/hist/ blah, blah, blah. You can just grab a screenshot of this and see if you can find it. I Googled it. You can too. You'll see here the beginning and end of these propane prices, and you can kind of see that they don't follow a tremendous pattern. You got a concave down, you got initial high, but then a concave down. You got more of a linear here. You've got a flat here. Who knows what these prices are going to do, right? Like they're going up and they're going down, then they're going to go up again. They might crest. It's looking like it's going to crest, which would be nice. Season started high at $3.39, and now it's going down to, by about 10 cents, 15 cents. You can take a look at the national averages as well. See the history from 1990 to 2021. And this is the one I usually look at, the U.S. national average. So our propane prices have started about the same as they were last year, and that's what I remember. But it looks like propane fuel is not a thing that you need to worry about too much. It hasn't been showing signs of spiking. You get these occasional panics. This is 2013. All right, 2013 apparently for propane was worse than the pandemic was, because in the pandemic, the winter after June 2020, it goes up and it goes from $1.72 to about $2.30. It's not. All right, let me do that. See if I can remember these numbers. So this goes up 33%. 33%. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not humongous. All right, here's natural gas. In case you're heating with that. Again, June 2020. Holy crap, 244% increase in price of natural gas. Yeah, so you can probably thank Brandon for that one. That is unprecedented. Has Has that happened before? When was the last time this has even happened? Natural gas just shooting up like that. You can see that my scaling of the graph has screwed everything up. So they didn't start keeping records until about 2007, right? And you got a big. And this is the financial crisis. Like that went really high. Now where is natural gas going to go from here? We still have 2 more years of Brandon in office and him defeating our ability to become energy independent again. So here's June, and it just keeps going up and spiking. These are seasonal spikes most likely. So here we go. This one is in August. Okay, so in August it's running up. Natural gas is probably going to get more expensive as you go due to heating costs. Let's see. This is... Oh, actually looking at the history here, I'm seeing that, all right, here's a winter right here. Here's a winter right here. Kind of went down, actually. Here's sort of... here's a winter right here. Comes down. So it might spike a little bit more, but I wouldn't think it would go crazy. But I can't see the history from this other spike, right? Like I can't see that far back. So who's to say? But yep, another 85% increase. It's going to get higher when I actually like correct the graph to start in June. Wait, how's that? That went from 80%. Oh man. Okay, so it looks a lot worse because there's this anomaly in June. It got anomalously low. But if you actually look like pre-pandemic, it's like plus 80%. And then at the dip, it looks like huge, like 300%. I bet the same thing happened with natural gas. Let's go back to 1. Yeah, so it looks huge there, but if you actually look back, let's see how bad it actually was. I'm seeing 40%, 20%, 18%, and then... Yeah, so it's okay. It's not as bad. It's pretty bad though. It's pretty bad. This is the next. This next one you might find funny. So 22 long rifle prices. This is the 2021 panic, right? I think that was the summer of love. I think ammo prices just went through the roof. If I can even find June, yeah, June. Okay, so I already resized this graph. June. Oh, reset the zoom. I'm gonna reset the zoom. Okay, never mind. It actually starts at 2020. Yeah, so you had this big spike here, but it's gone back down to like pre-levels. It was about 4 cents a round. Now it's about 5 cents a round. You can't get much closer than that without being right dead on. 12 gauge ammunition, pre-pandemic. We don't have that much of a history on 12 gauge actually, so that's why we're kind of having an issue here. Yeah, so we only have through the pandemic, but things are looking like they're leveling out in terms of ammunition prices. So that's good for you. Here is... Yep, this one starts in June 2020. What if they were thinking the same thing as me? Starts around 30 to 40 cents per round and then moves down to about the same now. This is great. All right, so you're at pre-pandemic levels for most ammunitions, possibly 12 gauge as well. Same story over here. You get about 20 cents, yep, about 20 cents or so. And you're actually lower on 9mm. So probably a ton of people bought like 10 years supplies of 9mm and just left it, whatever. And then finally 30-06, they don't have enough data for me to really draw a conclusion. I would assume that they are starting to hit pre-pandemic levels, but this is not really a stock ticker. There's not like an ammunition exchange, you know what I mean? Anyways, that's left over. And that is it for tonight. The outlook is, oh, actually, no, we're going to talk about food storage. And I'm going to show you a product that's pretty cool. All right. Now, again, if you want to know food storage, I have a Google link. I have a Google document. But really what the Google document does, I'm just going to pop that up. Excel, nutrition template. There we go. What that Google document really does is it just totals up all of your nutrition. So I made a document here, which I need to automate at some point, put out web crawlers to get this information because it's a real wrist buster trying to put all this stuff in here. Hashtag wrist buster. I'm sure that won't be misused. I put everything in here, wild catfish fillets. If you want vitamin D, it's like one of the few things that actually has vitamin D in it. Almost nothing else has vitamin D, by the way. If you think orange juice has vitamin D, you're vitamin D wrong. They add that to orange juice. Because vitamin D is so difficult to get. It really only exists from what I've found, it exists in fish and it exists in mushrooms, but only if the mushrooms were grown either outdoors or in an environment that had ultraviolet light. If there's no ultraviolet light or sunlight, the mushroom has no nutritional value as far as I can tell. So they got to make up new nutrients like lycopene for ketchup and stuff. Like, who the hell even heard of lycopene before they slapped it on the label? Anyways, I have for an adult, I say that, if I eat 3 sets of 2 scrambled eggs a day, so that's 6 eggs a day, I'm, having 1 cup of buckwheat. This is all the nutrition I get. And I, start adding the portion sizes up here. So portion sizes go up here. These percentage daily values are the percentage daily value scaled to the portion size that you've made. And then eventually you get here. Calories, if you're working, 2,500 calories is pretty good. I weigh about 250 pounds, and most of it's not, fat. I'm mostly not fat. I can at least commit to that. You'll get 100% calories from this diet that I put on here, and you'll get above 100%. So you get a little close with folate. You get above, and you're pretty close to calcium, which calcium is also very difficult to get. It really only exists in milk in any quantities. Sorry, it's green leafy vegetables like you think it is. I'll show you. Like if I go over to like I don't know. So here we go. Here's your green leafies. Cabbage or turnip greens, dandelions. But I even put dandelions in here. Dandelions aren't really worth much. They do have a lot of vitamin K though. So vitamin K is not hard to find, but it is like only in a few things. So green leafy vegetables do have a lot of vitamin K, and kale has a lot of vitamin A. So anyways, my diet that I set for myself was 1 cup of whole buckwheat flour, whole groat. I can grind it into a flour if I want, make a pancake, or I can roast them and just eat them. They're easy to shell. They're easy to winnow. They're easy to process. They're easy to grow. They grow like a weed. They actually grew in the cracks of my concrete. So it's about ease of growth, ease of processing, ease of cooking, and then ease of eating, how delicious it is. 1 medium potato, half of a sweet potato, large, skinned, 1 cup whole grain flour. Now the sweet potato is going to probably be canned, so I'm going to make that work, and grown in a greenhouse during the summer. 1 cup of sunflower, so half a cup of sunflower seeds, 1/4 cup of lima beans, 1/4 cup of roasted peanuts, 6 eggs total. So this is 3 sets of 2 eggs, which makes 6. 1 fillet, 159 grams of wild catfish. I'm probably going to do trout. It's the same thing. Most of these fish have the pretty similar nutritional profiles. Here, 2 cups of sheep milk, which sounds like a lot, but 1 sheep will produce 1 liter per day of milk for about 200 some days after after having a kid, after giving birth. So this is actually not a tall order. Like 2 liters is a lot. I have 2 ewes, so they'll produce 2 liters if they're both pregnant. I certainly hope that my ram is not gay like I think he might be. I'm pretty sure he tries to have sex with them. If I got sold a gay ram, I'm just gonna. That's just something you gotta laugh at. All right, collard greens. I don't remember why I put this in here. I don't need it. Yeah, I don't need it. Ugh. I think half a leaf. So the portion is 1 leaf. Half a leaf of Swiss chard. Put that on my sandwich. Put that on my buckwheat pancake. 1/10 of a cup of kale, because that's easy. I'll probably end up canning or freezing or drying or something, freeze drying. And a half of a raw hot chili pepper. So a little something to spice up my day. Probably put in my soup. Sort of dilutes the spice. But yeah, that's my diet, right? And I get 100% across the board. Now what you want to do with that is you just want to multiply all those numbers by 365, and that's what you need. That's what you need to actually store. Now, I also have a land usage calculator here, which tells me how much space I need to grow it. I use research from university extensions, and then I cut in half their yields and assume that I'm going to only be able to farm half as much as they do. But that's how much land you need. Before you actually start growing your own food, I suggest you get a nice, healthy storage of food. Yeah. Ammo's been getting cheaper, Will. Yeah, you probably only have so many propane providers, so you'll see. My propane place actually offered me a deal where I prepaid for this year, so I guess they just stocked up on a ton of propane at whatever the price was then. And then if you don't use it, they'll just refund you, but I'm locked in at a price. But anyways, for food storage, this pet food storage is pretty darn great. It's supposed to be for like dogs and stuff, but this has been, in terms of everything that I value, this has been pretty darn good. So This is a Vittles Vault. Let's see if it actually loads up. There we go. It's starting to load. Come on now. I know I'm streaming. I'm streaming on a best effort Starlink connection, so it's not as good as a regular Starlink. Unfortunately, I was on the list and it was delayed 2 years, and I guess Elon took pity on me and gave me a little taste, just a little piece. Yes, these stockable bins here, they have a, let's see if they show it. They have an O-ring in here that gets compressed when you screw this down, right? And that little O-ring, you can almost see it in there. That little O-ring seals all the air out and seals all the air in. So it's going to stay as moist as it is in there. On the very roof there, if you look at the roof of this container, you can actually put, just tape some, a little pouch that has desiccant and oxygen absorbers to prolong the life of it. But each of these holds like this one is a 40 pounder. I have a bigger one that's a 60 pounder. I pay like $60 for it. And the 60 pounders can hold probably 100, it's supposed to be for 60 pounds of dog food, but obviously the packing factor of flour is much higher. So you can put like 100 pounds of flour into one of these containers and then stack them on a wire rack shelf, or stack them. I wouldn't stack them on each other, because then you have plastic compressing plastic. And if it gets really heavy, you're just going to have a problem. And you're going to create cracks in the plastic, and that's going to defeat the whole purpose. And you're going to have a big moldy container of flour. Don't take a risk. Go buy a wire rack shelf for like $100 from Sam's Club. Set it up. Make sure it's rated for really high weight. It's not hard to find. It's not that expensive to get it. Don't get it off of Amazon, because Amazon will overcharge you, and they're not that well rated for weight. And store your stuff in here. I will probably have a video that I'm going to do. I don't know if it's just going to be a YouTube short or whatever, where I'm just going to go through my larder. I've already shot a bunch of footage, but I'm not super happy with it. I just want it to be more casual, and I feel like I might just hold the phone in my hand. But I have an entire larder, which is the size of a room in my house, and I've got about 3 years worth of food in there. So I'm not